Namaste. My name is Susan, and this is the Awakened Heart radio program. I apologize, we're running a few minutes late today. Sometimes the universe has different things in mind than we do, so we're just going to go with the flow. Today I have a dear friend, a co-leader in oneness, a trainer in oneness, and actually the gentleman that introduced me to oneness up on Mount Charleston last year. So I'm really excited to invite Neal Ong back with us today, and we're going to be having a really beautiful conversation today. So welcome, Neal.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be here. I love this show, and the last one that you had was phenomenal. It was really you doing the work live. So
yeah, it was. It was fun. Any of you who haven't watched the last show, it was a really beautiful experience about something we call sitting with the what is. So if you haven't had a chance, please go back to the archives and enjoy that, because it was unexpected, but sometimes the most unexpected things are some of the most beautiful experiences, and it was really awesome. Yeah, so thank you, Neal. Before we get started, I really would like to just take us in for a moment so we can all be as centered in our hearts as possible. That's a much better way for me to take things in, to listen. I think you've had that experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
So let's just close our eyes for a moment. And I want you to focus on your heart area, where there's actually a chakra there, which is an energy center. And I just want you to breathe with focus on your heart. One of the most beautiful ways to draw you into your heart is something that's so easy, so simple, and it's called gratitude. And even when we're going through challenging times, there's always something we can be grateful for. So just take a moment and think of what that one thing is. Whether it's a friend, whether it's your dog, whether it's the sun shining today, whatever it is, just go into your heart and say thank you. And just breathe into that, relax into it. Rest in that place. Take maybe one more really deep breath and let it out. Let everything go. Okay. So again, namaste. It's so beautiful to see you all. It's always such I'm in gratitude, to have this opportunity to share with you my journey, to share with you the beautiful journey of so many around me that are having really beautiful experiences. We are in a new time on this earth. And I can't emphasize it enough. I really want you to hear that and take it in. We are in a new time. We can call it the golden age. We can call it the new earth. What else can we call it, Neal?
The shift into awakening, oneness.
Right. It's a beautiful time. It is so exciting and so palpable. And those of us who are tapped in any way, and that means all of you watching, because if you're watching, you're actually tapped in. We have this huge opportunity. And every day I'm aware more and more how huge it is. And I don't know how to communicate it enough. It's like a drive inside of me to help you, each one of you, understand that you're being called right now. You are being called personally, you, to step up in some way. I don't know what it is, but I know it's huge, and I know we need you to do that. We are all this team. And we have this amazing job to do. I feel like so privileged to be a part of it because we are ushering in something that's enormous, so exciting. We're going into such a beautiful place. So today, even though we've talked about awakening so much, and it's like, oh my goodness, are we going here again? Yes, we are. Because we have to articulate some of these things in such a way that we know we've been clear, and we know we've reached everyone in the way we need to, so that you can hear what we're trying to say. So Neal's going to help me with this because, it's funny. Neal and I really get each other, and yet we're so different. We're so unique, and we speak differently. So it's funny, like we always understand each other, and yet we speak different. So we've got an advantage here today, yes, because you've got two different people talking, and I could say something, and you'd be like, okay, it sounded nice, but I have no idea what she's saying, and then Neal might say it, and you go, oh, I get it. So that's kind of what we're going to do. We're going to do a volley back and forth. And we're reaching out to all of you, no matter what path you're on. If you're watching, we have something really important to share with you. Do you have something to add to that, Neal?
Of course, this time that we're experiencing, I know for me, it's just been a huge shift. I mean, I know that a lot of us experience some kind of change, or maybe within our families or friends, we'll start to see slow and gradual changes. I talk about this like people start doing yoga, or maybe eating healthy, focusing on, buying organic groceries, this type of thing.
Right.
And it seems like it's happening all around us.
Yes.
But for me, it was not just like, a subtle thing where I'm coming of age and I'm starting to think about these healthy, wellness and health. It was like all across the board, everyone around me, like something's happening. Yes. It was really something that was happening where I had to pay attention. And I mean, part of me has been, waiting for this time for a long time.
Yes.
That's how I feel.
Yes.
So I love today's topic.
Yes. Very nice. Yeah, I feel like I've been waiting for it for lifetimes and lifetimes, or working towards it or something, So let's define it for you. We throw out all these terms, and sometimes we actually don't realize, we never really explained what that was. There's sometimes an assumption, that we're all on the same page, but maybe we're not. So for me, and then I'll turn it to you, stepping into what I'll call the golden age. That's my terms. You can call it whatever you want. To me, what this means is that we are going to continue to raise our consciousness, which is kind of hard to explain what that even means. But the best way to explain it is, as our consciousness raises, we change. And we start to care about the earth, Mother Gaia. We start to experience the present moment in an entirely new way. We start to actually be present in our bodies as an energetic system in motion, as opposed to a physical body made of bones and skin. We start to experience things like love, joy, and bliss, and caring about our fellow mankind in a way that we never knew was possible. I think for me that kind of says, in a little nutshell, what it means to step into the golden age. And then I'm going to have Neal explain, for him, and then we'll talk about what we're really here to talk about today is how do we step in and what do we do. So
yeah, my life has been fairly normal. I grew up and had goals, wanted to aspire to things. I grew up in a Catholic family. So what I noticed was that, I had a little bit of calling, wanted to look into spirituality, or felt like something deeper. I wanted to know what life was about. So when I started to get into more of a spiritual search, this time, it just kind of hit me like, a ton of bricks. I mean, there was something different that I was experiencing that I felt like it was time, or something's, different now. So the golden age or the new earth, for me, is evolution and evolution of the species.
Mm-hmm.
So how I could see that was just within myself. I mean, I had friends that, of course, know me very well, and like, oh, Neal's into health and wellness now, or he's taking on a spiritual path. And I was like, yeah, that's what's happening. But internally, I definitely felt something different. It wasn't like, I was going through any type of phase, but I was experiencing life differently. And not only my thoughts and perceptions were changing, but the world in which I live in, I began to really feel like it was changing myself. So I think that's reflected, when I look externally, it was reflected within me. So the new age for me is really a shift in consciousness for the species. It's like evolution, when we have had, any animal or plant that grows and reaches to a point where there's a shift that's required, it happens. Of course, we're mammals, right? So how is it any different? So that's what it is for me. And of course, when I began to read or look into things further and hear these terminologies, like this shift in consciousness, or the new earth, like Eckhart Tolle uses that one specifically, I began to understand it, not just from an intellectual perspective, but I really felt like a deep understanding of this is happening.
Yes.
And that's where my calling or my own personal drive came from.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So one of the things that is different for me about my experience with oneness is that we can experience something that we call awakening. And one of the things that I've noticed in my experience before having that shift and after is that before I had it, I did not understand it, even though I made much effort to do so. So that tells me something, that perhaps I can serve a bit as a way shower of how to make it a little more understandable. We're talking about a change in consciousness, and I'll tell you that when I go out into spiritual groups, which we're doing more and more of, to try and really shake hands, really hold hands, really come together, because we all, I think, have a common goal. So more and more I'm out there and I'm talking to very beautiful spiritual people who have a nice consciousness. And I realized, even yesterday, I was having a beautiful conversation with a friend, and I was starting to share a bit about the awakening. And she said, well, I feel like I've had that shift. And I said, I understand. I actually felt that way before I had it too, because I was experiencing beautiful things. I was having a change in my consciousness. I was starting to be able to witness myself. Oh, there's Susan acting jealous, or there's Susan acting selfish. I could watch that and look at it, with some distance, and observe it and say, wow, that's interesting, and understand that whoever it was acting wasn't necessarily the truth of me. So today, what I really want to try and get across for all of you is that having some of those beautiful shifts, which I agree are really, really beautiful, is not actually what awakening is. Awakening is a very, very distinct shift in your brain. It doesn't happen by thinking nice thoughts or by raising, like starting to care about the earth or other people, which is some of the ways we're raising our consciousness, is by being more aware, and tapping in and things like that. Awakening is actually a neurobiological shift in the brain. So in essence, God, spirit, divine, your higher self, whatever you'd like to call it, has gone in, we could call it grace, and has shifted your brain in some way that's permanent. And we'll talk a bit about what that means, but I want you to hear so very clearly from me first that this awakening that we want for every single one of you is very specific. And it happens when grace steps in, and when we give the oneness blessing or Deeksha, that initiates that process. So, Neal, you speak in different words, which is such a beautiful thing for us here and for them. So you tell them your view of what awakening is and how it's different than an elevated consciousness.
Yeah, I love this topic so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so practical when I speak about awakening.
Yes.
And I have to turn this way because, I really feel like it's going to turn into a good conversation.
No worries.
See, awakening for me was something that was like enlightenment, right?
Right.
We hear about enlightenment.
Yes.
Buddhism talks about it or teaches how to cultivate this and get into that enlightenment state.
Yes.
So when I was doing a spiritual practice, I guess, or doing my search, I did go into Buddhism because of the sake of meditation and really getting that peaceful quietness, meditative state, that kind of thing. So when I had experienced it, I hear the teachings and I say, oh, I want that. I want to have enlightenment.
Exactly.
And then when they describe it, there's something that I think is natural. I started to think, oh, I'm there. Oh, I had that experience. Mm-hmm. Or I know what they're talking about. And that's a human thing to do.
It is.
I think, all of us do that. We see it amongst, all of our friends. It could be something talking about organic produce. And then, you mention something and your friend's like, oh, yeah, I know that already.
Exactly.
Yeah. So my personal experience with awakening was that a process started within me or through me from oneness. I did a lot of different practices. I found oneness, received the Deeksha, the blessing, and then I attribute my growth from oneness. So my growth was like a progressive journey. But there was a defining moment that I felt where there was a tremendous shift that occurred.
Yes.
And it was the difference was I wasn't intellectually thinking like I know that or I understand that teaching. Eckhart totally talks about being in the moment and being separate from the brain, and then you'd watch the brain, because when intellectually I that's how I feel.
You understood it.
Yeah, I understood that.
Yes.
And I was convinced. I think like that. I could watch myself think. I watch
exactly. Yeah.
Well, the shift for me was like a complete light switch.
Yes.
My higher self, the awareness, whatever we want to call it, was completely separated from my mind in such a way that there was no thoughts.
Yes.
And then when thoughts arose, they were completely separate. I wasn't believing I was a thought that was occurring.
Yes.
And of course that caught my attention. I mean, I'm a regular guy, moved here 6 years ago for real estate, going to church every so often, Unity, when I found Unity here, and then doing, health and wellness, yoga, going to the gym, that kind of thing. So I wasn't going to a lot of different spiritual circles. I wasn't, practicing any specific path when these things were occurring for me. And it was a tremendous difference when I experienced this shift that I thought was my awakening moment.
Yes.
That it was nothing like I perceived. It wasn't like a concept. It wasn't anything like my brain had thought.
Yes.
It became an experience.
Yes.
So it was very real for me. Then even when I was in circles or around different people, they would say, "Oh yeah, awakening's occurring. We're awake, and you're awake, and we're so conscious, and we're talking about the earth and saving." I mean, I love all that stuff, and of course we have to be in that kind of affirmative thing for our planet. But when I talk about awakening, awakening is for me is an actual shift that occurs that is synonymous to what modern day we call seeking enlightenment.
Yes.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's my definition I could give you through my experience.
Thank you. Yeah, for me, I think as I shared with you a short moment ago, before I went to India in December, I thought perhaps I'd had that shift in my brain. How would, I had concepts. Yeah, I guess maybe I have. And I went to India, and I actually went with this prayer and intention that I would have it 2 weeks in, because I was going for 4 weeks. And to me, I thought, well, I want to enjoy a couple weeks in India with the shift, if I'm going to have this shift. So when I experienced this, as Neal mentioned, I'm like, oh, there were really no words because, of course, I had these concepts and thoughts. I have this nice consciousness. Maybe I've already had the shift, but this will, kind of, I guess I'll find out. And I found out. And ever since, every time I speak about it, I am refining and refining so I can be so clear for you that you'll understand that, yes, you may have a very beautiful consciousness. Some people might even use the word awakened. You seem awakened. And that is so beautiful. And I want that for everyone. But what else I want for everyone is for you to have this shift in your brain. In India, when you have it, they actually give you a number, which sounds a little crazy, but what all the number is, it is the percentage of your brain that has shifted into this new way of functioning. Okay, so you've actually had this change. And when it happens, people experience it very differently. How many people are on the planet? I never
Close to 8 billion.
8 billion, right. So there's 8 billion different types of awakening is what they say, yes? So, I think, you'll experience, no, you won't necessarily experience what I did. But I want you to understand, for me, it was the most palpable, most defining moment in my lifetime, because I realized at that moment that something had changed permanently, and everything about that change was going to facilitate my growth in consciousness in a whole new way, in a way that I have trouble even describing for you. I became more present to everything. I became more aware of so much about me, and I became dedicated to learning how to describe this shift in such a way, and to be, I'm going back to India to become a trainer. This is my passion, so that you all can have this shift. Not necessarily that you'll, as Neal and I have jumped into oneness, full speed ahead, because your path may look different. But whatever your path is, to me, this shift will support you 100% in that path, because it supports all that we, as healers, light workers, way showers, new age usher inners, whatever we want to call it, it supports all of that work, because it pushes you into this new state.
Yeah, I want to speak on that. I mean, of course, for our audience or whoever's tuning in, I mean, we have so much of a role that we play, obviously, because we're from these spiritual circles, meditation groups. We're constantly around a lot of groups in the spiritual circles. Then we do play a role, and whatever background we are, whatever we do with our, our day job, or just whatever path we follow, like awakening or enlightenment, these type of things, higher states of consciousness is a journey.
Yes.
So we all should be constantly pushing ourselves, looking for that next level, and like you said, going out to groups, or you wanting to visit groups and, mingling, saying hello, that kind of thing. I'd love if a lot of us got together on that basis,
yes.
Because we've visited a lot of groups, and we love doing that. I know there's a lot of spiritual groups that, want to host big meditations or have gatherings, and we should probably focus on that in a very conscious way, that everyone in these groups becomes awakened or goes through the shifts, so they go through these shifts, so they'll affect, of course, not just themselves and the family, but people around them,
yes,
especially leaders.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's be really clear on how you can have this shift, right? Because hopefully now we've started a spark, a fire burning within, where you're thinking, I would like to have this shift, right? And so how can you have it? Clearly, some of us go to India to experience this shift, but that's not a necessity at this time. I think India, is just an experience that some of us are deeply called to, just like you might be called to a yoga retreat in Bali, because yoga is your path. or crystals are your path, or going to see John of God in Brazil and learning about mediumship and things like that are your path, and all such beautiful things, and so many more. I mean, I think there must be hundreds, maybe thousands of paths at this juncture in time that can contribute to this big picture. So, the goal here for Neal and I think our passion is to say, okay, guys, we all have the same goal. Let's start talking, let's start meeting, let's start working together, but let us start helping you understand how to have this shift. And basically, you can have this shift here, right here in the U.S., by getting what is called Deeksha, or the Oneness Blessing. We have both names for it. And Neal, talk a little bit about that blessing and how it initiates this shift.
Yeah, so just like you said, I want to definitely reiterate, there's a lot of different paths that people, could study, have gone through tremendous change, and all of that is good. I mean, it's all good. Mm-hmm. The precursor to any type of awakening, enlightenment, that kind of thing is, of course, wanting it. And it could be through any path that you experience. With oneness, or from what I experienced, was that they described, when I first, sat down at a Deeksha circle, they described this blessing. And it was an ancient blessing that they gave in India. It was oneness universities in India. And they had gurus that taught, their spiritual practices, not from any book, or, not a book of teachings per se, but they focused on spiritual practices. And then when the guru was getting ready to retire, or that kind of thing, he would choose one of his disciples and give him one single Deeksha. Yeah. And then that disciple would step up and be a guru. So the time has changed where Oneness University wanted to offer this particular blessing readily available to everyone, because the earth is ready, the times, planets are aligned, all these type of things. Yeah. So now what we do is we get initiated to give this blessing. And you could get initiated here in the United States. It's a 2-day course, and you can become what we call a Deeksha giver, or the Oneness Blessing is the Deeksha giver. So Deeksha is a transfer of energy. It's like a blessing or a prayer that is given by gently placing the initiate's hand on someone's head. So the person who's initiated to give the blessing will gently place their hands on your head, and then allow the grace or divine transfer to occur. They don't necessarily do anything themselves. Mm-hmm. They could say a prayer to their divine, connect with source, and so could the recipient. So what happens is, and I was reading this actually recently, because it's nice to hear the scientific background of these things, that it actually removes or shifts the focus from the parietal lobes to the frontal lobes. The parietal lobes being orientation with time and space, and that kind of thing, where the frontal lobes is gears towards the attention and the present, so heightened senses. And there was a researcher who was a professor who did a study on this, and he measured the EEG waves in the recipient and also the blessing giver. And what they're finding is like increased alpha and theta waves in the frontal cortex. That means, and they were saying that the alpha waves is also synonymous with blood flow. Mm-hmm. So when it increased in the frontal cortex, the brain, the physical brain, was more focused on the present, more focused with the. So this is probably where we get our heightened senses, because more the orientation of attention. So that's the background of the Deeksha blessing and how it works. And I'm, of course, I'm always happy to read articles and stuff like that. And it was, I think, just decided, it was New Brain, New World, something like that, .com.
Perfect.
And they had these articles there, yeah.
Yeah, what we'll do is both of us, we'll put a link to it on our Facebook page. So for right now, especially if any of this, you have questions, you want to come to a Deeksha circle, you're interested in getting a blessing, you have a group, you want us to come, we'll come. Get in touch with us. Susan MacQuarrie, my name is posted, all over the radio program, and Neal Ong, Neal, and then Ong, O-N-G, he's on Facebook as well. I think right now, until we get a more formal page, that's a really good way to get in touch with us, and we can post some things. So maybe we can post a link to that article, because that's fascinating stuff. Again, it brings us back to, this is such a specific blessing. It is a gift that is being given to mankind to accelerate this journey that we're all going, yes, I'm on the journey. I want to go. I want to be a part of this. And this particular gift is this peace that to me is so integral. Like, for you to be on the journey and not have the peace, this peace that I'm talking about, it works. You're doing beautiful things out there. I see it everywhere. But to get this peace and have this shift in your brain will just burn a fire in you in a way that we keep trying to share. And I think the truth of it is that until you actually have the experience for yourself, words escape us.
Yeah, it's an experience.
Right?
It's hard to intellectually wrap your mind around it, because of course the mind's going to say, I experienced that, I know what that is.
Because we could say you'll have more peace, you'll have more presence, you'll have more joy, you'll have better relationships, you'll experience things like increased abundance, increased connection. But I think in some sense those of us on a path do feel like we are experiencing those things more even prior to the shift. So it's very hard to quantify for you how important a piece of your journey this shift is.
Yeah, that's why for me I really fell in love with oneness, because it was focused on the experiential versus the intellectual. It's like I could even hear myself talking. It's like, experiential, what does that really mean? So the experience of it, or actually receiving Deeksha, is an experience in itself. And we want that for you. Like, for everyone who's, gone through so many shifts, or feels like they're going through awakening transformation, this is just one thing that may help with that. I think that's why I really became involved with oneness, is because I wanted to share this particular experience that wasn't so necessarily readily available. Like when I first walked into a Deeksha cycle, there was a dozen people there. And even now, we talk to a lot of people that hear about oneness or Deeksha, and many of them are just hearing it, once or twice, and not very familiar with it. So
we have to get the word out. That's our job, and we're excited about it. So that's why we come on the show, and I talk over and over about some of the same things, because this is our passion, our excitement, and we are attempting to make Deeksha more and more available to you, more and more understandable.
Could we invite them? Maybe they could invite them to contact us. If you guys have a circle, a meditation group, or even it's just you want to get a gathering together and experience Deeksha, I know that we would be more than willing to come visit and give Deeksha.
Talk to us. Send us a little Facebook message, and if we can, hopefully you're somewhat within driving distance, we'll be there. Also, we're going to be starting a circle. We currently do have a circle running in Henderson, and Neal and I are working at getting a circle up in the Northwest. And of course, we want all of you that can to be there. We're going to be offering classes. Not only in the possibility of, if you're interested in becoming a Deeksha giver, but in other ways to accelerate this evolution of consciousness. But the most important thing for you, if you've not had this shift and it's starting to be compelling, which I hope it is, because that if it is, we're doing our job. You need to start coming to our circle. You need to start experiencing Deeksha on a regular basis. Could you awaken with your first Deeksha? Actually, yes, you could. It could happen. And more, it will happen as we keep bringing this consciousness higher and higher and moving into the golden age. But, at the moment, that's not the usual. But people come to Deeksha circles and they start to have experiences and they start to see changes in their life, and their brain is starting to get ready to make this shift. Yeah.
Yeah, and it could be, a combination with whatever you're doing.
Exactly.
We have so many who've recently become Deeksha givers with various like backgrounds and paths.
Yep.
And I love that. Of course, there's no teachings per se, or there's no like one path that with us in oneness have to subscribe to. We have shamans in as Deeksha givers, Reiki participants. I know of several ministers who became Deeksha givers, actually quite a lot. And for those of you who know, when I went to India, I went to the Oneness University with a large spiritual group of ministers and lay leaders in the community, those 54 of us. Yeah. So with Oneness and Deeksha, it's another tool or another method to help you in your awakening or in your shift of consciousness and to grow. So we just really want to make it like open for everyone, and that everyone should experience it.
Yeah, definitely. So you do know, since we're getting you so excited about Deeksha, in a few moments, not quite yet, we will be giving Deeksha. I always end the show with Deeksha, and there are several ways Neal described. When we are in person, we lay our hands on your head, for 30 seconds to a minute. It doesn't necessarily have to be that long. Some people experience many things, and some people don't actually feel anything. I had a really beautiful experience yesterday with a beautiful woman, beautiful, beautiful soul, who was a bit frustrated because she had, I think, 5 Deekshas and she hadn't felt anything yet. And I was like, no worries. At some point, perhaps you'll have an experience where you'll feel something, but, you may not. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
And I gave her a Deeksha before I left, and she had her first experience, and she felt it, which was really exciting for her, yes, because, we're human. So, of course, we are willing to trust sometimes that beautiful things are happening, but we do like confirmation. We do like to feel things. And I happen to be one of those people that is blessed with a lot of awareness of energetic frequency and feelings. So, I get Deeksha and my world, turns upside down. But that's not everyone's experience. I don't know what was it like for you? Did you? Because I know.
Yeah, so I'm such a normal, I like to say, normal person. I don't know when my chakras are out of balance, and like my first crystal, like someone gave to me. Right. So, when I experienced Deeksha, actually, I didn't feel anything just receiving it.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, it was nice. I want to go back there again. And my friend's like, oh, you want to go back to the circle where they put the hands on the head? I was like, yeah, I want to go to that one.
Yeah.
So I started going back to receive more and more Deeksha, and it was a progression over time that I started experiencing like more calmness, profound sense of like oneness is a good word, being connected with all these things.
Yes.
But it was the experience was beyond like any type of normal happening. It was like tremendous, where no one needed to tell me, or I didn't need to speak to anyone or validate that I was having this experience.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I'm very grounded. I'm very like much of the earth. It was huge for me.
Yeah.
So my experiences were gradual over time, and then after receiving plenty of Deekshas, then I could really get into that space where I feel something's happening, or I could feel some energy. I feel like buzzing on my head.
Yes.
I get a little warm, maybe something like that. So
yeah,
that's what happens to me now.
Yeah. People have a lot of interesting experiences. So just to explain a little bit more clearly, since today is a lot about clarity and making sure we're speaking so clearly with you about what it is we're doing, why, what you might experience. At the end of the show, clearly we can't touch your heads, but we are able to do something called intention Deeksha. So we actually, raise our hands and we send Deeksha. It does not matter if you watch the archive. You don't have to be, there is no time, there is no space element. You could be in another country and you will feel the Deeksha, or you will receive the Deeksha. I actually stand corrected. See? got to be careful. You will actually receive the Deeksha. You watch it at a different time than we did it. You receive the Deeksha. You know, this whole thing, this whole continuum that we live in with space and time is our experience as human beings. But as I'm sure most of you have come to learn, especially involved in energy work, that is not a factor. So Deeksha is, this is something that flows through us. It is not us. It is not Susan giving you the Deeksha. It's not Neal. It is something that is allowed to flow through us because we've been initiated into this. And the most beautiful thing about it is that we actually do nothing. Yes?
Yeah. We do nothing. Of course, the clearer vessels we are, I feel the stronger it is because, humans get in the way or their mind gets in their own way. So you could, call in your higher source or God or, your guardian angels, your guides, and then just sit. And then when you have a connection or make that connection, you could just meditate with us. And then what Susan and I will do the same. We'll make a connection with our God, divine source, and then make a simple intention. And I think for today, of course, it's the intention that we want all of you to awaken and grow into higher states of consciousness, but really get the grasp of this new earth that we're in, this new time. I mean, there's a reason why all of us and my cousin, Jack is going through his shifts. It's not like us. It's not like through our effort. We're doing something. This is a very special time, and it's only through like the grace of God, the source, the planets being aligned, all this stuff this is occurring.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We have a few more minutes, so I actually want to share something that's kind of interesting and something that was really emphasized when I was in India, and it's really a beautiful other aspect of this awakening thing. There's something about us as humans that when we are around someone who's had the shift in their brain, our brains actually attempt to sync up. I can't fully explain that. If I tried, I would probably botch it. So I'll share with you that it's fairly clear as we're watching this phenomenon, and that's actually what we call awakening and oneness. This is all a phenomenon. This isn't a religion, this isn't a cult, this isn't anything but a beautiful phenomenon that's sweeping the world and, will facilitate everything that it is that we are moving towards. But I describe it. I've got many years background as a nurse. So I heard this, I'm like, oh, so it's contagious, right? And it actually is contagious, but contagious in the most beautiful sense of the word. So once you have had this actual shift in your brain, and then you go home and you interact with your family, your mom, your dad, your brothers and sisters, your friends, you'll actually start to witness something that absolutely borders on the miraculous. I would actually call it the miraculous. And you start to see shifts in these people, because in essence, we're all being called to do this. So when our brain has a chance, we can start to try and sync up with people. And the fact that it's contagious is actually to our advantage 100%, right? Because you have the 100th monkey theory, which Michelle is smiling over there because she has a show called The 100th Monkey. The theory is that there's a tipping point. And actually, there is for this as well. When a certain number of brains have had this shift, it's just going to go boom. And all of a sudden, all these other brains are just going to go, okay, I guess this is what we're going to do. And they're all going to sync up. So that's another really beautiful aspect of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that?
I like that. It's really good. I'm speechless.
That's awesome. Nothing wrong with being speechless. Okay, so let's gather forces and think if there's anything, other beautiful things that we want to share. We've hit you with a lot of information today. And thank you. Thank you for that. Do you have, is something coming up?
No, just to recap, like you're saying, I mean, we're in this new earth, defining what awakening was from our perspective
Yes.
and our experience, and us wanting everyone to have that. Like there's a lot of different modalities or different spiritual things that I'm actually going out because I want to experience it from their perception or their point of view. And I'd love if everyone could experience awakening or the shift through the oneness perspective, just receiving Deeksha. You know? So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, the recap is we want you to experience this shift, and it's our passion. It's our reason for being on this planet right now, and that's our work. And, the more that we reach out to you, the more hopefully you get familiar with our faces. We're going out in groups. We're going to wellness expos, and we have something this Saturday.
Please invite us if you have something.
Invite us. Come on, find us on Facebook. Pretty soon we'll have a website. We'll be able to communicate with you more effectively. We're kind of, jumping into some new roles for us, because we've been called, right? We're jumping into this higher level of, okay, we've had this beautiful experience. It's amazing, and we need to bring this to the world. And so I guess we probably have to start with Las Vegas since we live here. Yeah, you guys know that, right? That's interesting. I'm not sure if you do know that. We live in Las Vegas, Nevada, because, of course, you could be watching us from anywhere. So that's where we are focused right now. But eventually, who knows, where we might travel. Neal and I like to travel.
Yeah.
Yeah. We went to San Diego recently for a oneness event, and
had a phenomenal time there.
We did. Yeah. So it was quite beautiful. All right. Do you have any last words of wisdom for these beautiful people?
I look forward to meeting you all.
Yes.
And for everyone that I do know, of course, thank you for doing the work, for just being the light that you are on this new earth, and striving for and reaching for higher states. Because everywhere we feel like we've made it, there's always more to go. Oh, and I'm always. I mean, I know you are too. You're always in the work and always.
Yeah, so that is a really phenomenal thing, is that there actually is nowhere to go, and wherever we are is perfect, but what we know today and who we are today is actually could be very different tomorrow. I'm noticing more and more that every day when I wake up, I actually am a different being than I was the day I went to sleep, which is a cool thing. So, growth abounds right now. And joy and bliss and connection and relationship and all of these things which, have eluded so many of us for so long are within our reach. So namaste to you all. Namaste. Yeah, so much love coming out. Michelle, as always, I want to thank you for hosting our show. She does an amazing job getting a lot of different, types of workout through this station, and we appreciate her. We're going to start Deeksha, and once we do that, we don't speak again because we're giving you Deeksha. So it'll be for about 15 minutes or so. You'll hear music, and Neal and I will just be sitting here giving you Deeksha with our hands up and our eyes closed. So I'll see you next time on The Awakened Heart. Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.
Namaste.
Jagat